Thank you very much to everyone who is here. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Amanda Truitt, and I am honored to represent the Catawba Valley Quilters Guild and the Quilts of Valor Foundation. During this Quilts of Valor presentation, before we officially begin, I would like to thank Dog Patch Quilting in Newton for quilting services, Bill's Sewing Machine Center in Hildebrand, North Carolina for label services, Holy Trinity Lutheran Church for the use of their church and space, and every single member of the Guild who has supported the Quilts of Valor service program since March of this year. I would also like to thank Zion Short, our Boy Scout, and his mother, Lori Short. Zion has been working on a badge for his Eagle Scout project and chose to learn how to sew and make quilts with us this year. His mother, Lori, worked right alongside him and made her own Quilt of Valor. So many recipients here today, and we want each recipient to have the attention that he deserves for his faithful service to our country. I will call each post and group forward, and then we will award each individual with their Quilt of Valor, and then drape them with their Quilt of Valor. We will also pause for pictures, so have your cameras ready, please. At the end of the presentation, we will have a group photo somewhere. We will arrange that. We will also ask the recipients to come right over into what used to be our Quilts of Valor booth to pick up the presentation case that goes along with their quilts and the certificate that goes along with their quilts. This area right here is where we would like our recipients to stand so that we can get a very clear image of our recipients with their quilts. So recipients, when I call your name, if you'll step forward and stand right here. There are several men who are not able to attend today because they have health concerns. We don't want them to make the journey out here. So, a member of their respective posts will come forward and accept the Quilt of Valor on their behalf. In the coming weeks, we will take these Quilts of Valor to them where they are, where they're comfortable, and give them their Quilts of Valor in their home or at their posts. The Quilts of Valor Foundation is a grassroots group of quilters from all across the United States. In 2003, a quilter named Catherine Roberts had the idea of comforting veterans with quilts during the time her own son was deployed in Iraq. To date, 125,230 Quilts of Valor have been awarded here in the United States, in Germany, Iraq, and in Afghanistan. The Quilts of Valor mission is to honor our service members and veterans who have been touched by war. The Catawba Valley Quilters Guild was formed in 1984 by a group of women who desired to promote and perpetuate the art of quilting. Some of the founding members are here today. In March of this year, our guild voted to add the Quilts of Valor program to our other two service projects. preemie quilts for the neonatal units of the 2 local hospitals, and sunshine quilts and pillowcases for the Hickory Salvation Army Family Guidance Center. Our Guild's goal is to award Quilts of Valor locally to veterans and service members who are members of the Catawba County American Legion posts, Veterans of Foreign War posts, Marine Corps detachment, and those who are receiving care at the Hickory VA clinic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to award the following individuals with their Quilts of Valor on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation and the Catawba Valley Quilters Guild. Today, we hope to bring them honor and comfort with these quilts. Though we may never know the depth of their service to protect our country, as a gesture of gratitude from a grateful nation, we ask that each of you please come forward as I call your name to accept your Quilt of Valor. First up, we have the American Legion Post 16, Earl Lale, who served in the Army. Angela Mason is the person who pieced this quilt. The Cozy Quilters have quilted this for us. Earl, this is Zion, and this is Angela. Angela pieced this quilt for you. Thank you, Earl. Earl, if you'll stand right here.
Wait a minute, Earl.
Don't go anywhere. If you'll stand right here for me, we're going to have you take a picture with your quilt. And the draping of the quilts is to comfort our veterans. Now you can go back to your seat.
This is my lifetime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mel Parker served in the Army in Korea. Is Mel here today? He might not have made it. Tom Baltimore served in the Army and is part of the American Legion Post 16.
Excuse me, Earl. Thank you, son.
Tom, do you think that you would be able to accept the quilt on his behalf?
Sure. Mayor Earl.
And we will give Earl his quilt at the next post meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next group of veterans is part of the American Legion Post 48, and our first recipient is Arthur Boone Huffman. Thank you very much, Boone. Lee Gabriel served in the Army as well. And Lee, your quilt was made by Ann Lutz and Peggy McCosh. Oh, don't go anywhere, Lee. We got to take your picture. Lee, I don't believe that you've seen this quilt before. It was picked out for you by Ann.
Thank you very much.
You'll need them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Marshall Beard served in the Army, and your quilt was made by Barbara Huggins and quilted by Dog Patch Quilting. Come on down here, Barbara. Jane Crandall, are you here? Melvin Jones served in the Navy, and his quilt was made by Jane Crandall and quilted by Melody Batchelor. David Mize, would you please come forward? Surprise! David served in Vietnam. Pigeon Post 544 in Sandy Ridge has a very large event going on today. Gerald Boats Milholland, will you please come forward? Boats received one of our Marine Corps quilts last week at the golf tournament. That was a charity for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. And he will be receiving quilts on behalf of Frank Knipe. And he was in the Army in Korea. And Gerald, if you will, please still take a picture with us with the quilts hanging behind you. That one is for Frank Knipe. And if you'll stay right there, please. Homer Green also served in the Army in Korea. And Tom Reese is the last recipient. He served in the Navy. This quilt was made by Dog Patch Quilting. Thank you very much, Boats. And we will arrange to give these to the guys. No. Thank you. Billy Beard is our next recipient. He served in the Navy, and his quilt was made by Mary Busey.
I guess I'm among friends. I get cold easy, I appreciate that.
You are very welcome. Sean Passmore served in the Army in Afghanistan. Passmore, I'm sorry. It's Sean Passmore. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. This quilt was made by Barbara Monkey and quilted by Jim Cogliantri.
Wow.
This quilt is a special quilt because it has been passed from one veteran to another. Barbara's uncle refused to accept this quilt and said that it should be given to a young veteran with a family. And here he is. Our next group of recipients are from the Veterans of Foreign Wars post-1957. Michael Bailey served in the Navy in Vietnam. Michael, are you here today? Okay. Roger Williams is a member of VFW Post 1957, and he is going to be accepting the quilts on behalf of the recipients. Roger, this quilt is for Michael Bailey. This pattern is called Non Sibi Sed Patria, which is the engraving at the Naval Academy. So I think a Navy veteran picking it out was pretty spot on. The next one he will be receiving is for Roy Lee, who served in the Army, in Vietnam, and in Korea. And the last one that you will be receiving is for Wayne Huffman, who served in the Army.
They're all hiding from you? He's looking for her.
Again, these are older gentlemen, and sometimes they just can't get out of the house sometimes. Thank you very much. The next group of quilts is going to be received by Larry Teague, who is the commander of VFW Post 5303. He will be receiving Larry Captain Gantz Quilt, who served in the Army in Vietnam. The next quilt that he will be receiving is for Mitchell Shook, who served in the Army and in the Air Corps in World War II. And the last quilt that Larry will receive is for Randy Winstead, who served in the Army in Vietnam. Thank you very much, Larry. Lori and Zion. This quilt was made by Zion, start to finish. Quilts of Valor Anthony Truitt, who served in the Army in Vietnam. You can stay there if you want to, or you can come down here.
I would venture to guess that Amanda Truitt is the one who manufactured this quilt.
He is receiving a Quilt of Valor. He is from VFW Post 1957 and served in the Army. Wayne, would you come forward? Wayne, if you'll stand right here, and the ladies will hold the... Yep. Served in the Army in Iraq, and this quilt was made by Karen Hacker.
Thank you, sir.
This concludes our presentation ceremony. We have brochures of the Quilts of Valor Foundation with information inside about the organization on the tables right behind us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask myself or Peggy McCosh, who is also over in the booth. And please feel free to sign one of our signature blocks. We will be making these into Quilts of Valor for the future to give to veterans as well. And for those who are receiving quilts today, we have certificates and pillowcases to go along with your quilts. If you will step over to the Quilts of Valor booth, and if you want to, you can hang around and we'll take a group picture with your quilts. If not, please feel free to leave or enjoy the rest of the show. And thank you very much for